This is section 29. It's the second part. If you're following along in the Mueller text, it's lines 13 through 20. And it's worth noting here that Mueller has this as a question mark. So I'll go ahead and try to add that in here. We're going to start with post remo, and this is Sabinus's argument that they should leave in the aftermath of Ambiorix coming to them and saying that all of Gaul is going to rise up against him. So he's making some points. He's shouting a lot, klamatabat, and so we have this sort of continual indirect statement here that's driving section 29. So his last point here, finally, who could persuade himself? So remember, persuadio takes the dative, so that's why we have sibi here, and then the reflexive pronoun refers back to our hypothetical singular subject here. So who would persuade? I said could earlier, but who would persuade himself, and then of this thing? Hoc here is ablative, but in English, of course, it just sounds better to say of this thing. That Ambiorix, without a sure thing, literally, without certain motivation, right, a sure matter, had resorted or had descended to a concilium of this kind, to a plan of this kind. And let's go back to klamatabat. So he was shouting again and again that his opinion in each part was safe. So no matter how you looked at it, according to Sabinus, his viewpoint is the right one. If nothing were more serious, more literally hard or harsh in this situation, in other words, if there is no, there's no issue here, well, with no danger, would they arrive to the nearest legion? Would they come to the nearest legion? If all of Gaul is in agreement with the Germans, or we're in agreement with the Germans, or we're sort of allied with the Germans, but consentio literally to agree. Well, one salutem, one safety has been placed, positam esse, in, or had been placed along in the sequence of tense with the indirect statement, in speed. So if there's nothing too serious going on, well, then they'll get to the next legion with no danger to themselves. But if all of Gaul would agree or would be in agreement with the Germans, well, their one hope of safety has been placed in their speed. Indeed, of Cotta and of those who would disagree with Sabinus, what sort of outcome did their plan have? So, quem exitum here, he was shouting again and again and again that what outcome, what end point here did Cotta's and theirs, who would disagree with them, plan have, or had. And in this case, in quo, in this case of this outcome here, if no present danger, no imminent danger must be feared or had to be feared, well, yet certainly the fames, so famine, hunger, from a long siege had to be feared. And so again, you've got two different editions here. The Mueller text has this as a question, and other texts do not. Has it essentially as a statement, because it's this sort of rhetorical exercise that he's ending his discussion with.